Look closely at the architecture of the reality you inhabit. If you strip away the comforting lies of religion, the polite fictions of society, and the sedatives of entertainment, what do you actually see? You see a terrifying paradox that defies the laws of a just universe. You see the ruthless ascending to positions of unimaginable power, and touched by consequence, their lives seemingly paved with gold. Meanwhile, the empathetic, the sensitive, the good souls you often find themselves crushed under the weight of an invisible debt. You struggle to survive. You carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, and when you ask why, the spiritual authorities hand you a single, devastating word: karma. They tell you that your suffering is a cosmic balancing act. They tell you that you are paying for the sins of a past you cannot remember, or learning lessons for a future you cannot guarantee. This is the just world hypothesis, the psychological safety net that keeps the human mind from snapping in the face of chaos. But look closer at the texture of your pain. Does it feel like a lesson? Does it feel like education? Or does it feel like a harvest? Now, I want you to stop simply listening to these words and start feeling them. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath and bring your entire awareness into the center of your chest, right behind the stomach. Locate that subtle, persistent vibration of not enoughness. That heavy, magnetic anchor that drags you down the moment you try to prioritize your own happiness. That reflex to apologize when you have done nothing wrong. You call this conscience. You call it morality. You have been taught that this heaviness is proof of your goodness. But in the forbidden physics of the control system, this sensation has a different name: the guilt algorithm. It is not a natural emotion. Look at nature. Does the lion feel guilt when it hunts the gazelle? Does the storm apologize for the ruin it leaves behind? Does the virus hesitate before it infects? No, nature operates on efficiency, balance, and survival. Guilt is a uniquely human frequency. A specific software patch installed in the psyche to weaponize your own empathy against you. It is a frequency lock designed to keep your vibration dense, heavy, and harvestable. The perfect prison is not built of iron bars, laser grids, or high walls. The perfect prison is built of beliefs you are terrified to question. By convincing you that you are inherently in debt to the universe, the Archonic architects ensure that you never look for the exit. You remain in the cage not because it is locked, but because you believe you deserve to be there. You believe the suffering is noble. You believe the pain is purifying. But let me whisper a dangerous truth into your ear. A truth that the Gnostics died to protect. You are not being purified. You are being eaten. The Lords of Karma do not need to force you to return to this simulation. They simply rely on your inability to forgive yourself. As long as you carry the algorithm of guilt, you are the one who locks the cell door from the inside. This algorithm is not just a feeling. It is a mechanism of physics. In the work of Itzhak Bentov, we learn that consciousness operates like a pendulum. When you are weighed down by guilt, your pendulum swings slow and heavy. You are trapped in time-space, fixed in the material density. To escape, you must accelerate your frequency. But guilt acts as a gravitational drag, ensuring you never reach the escape velocity needed to leave the matrix. To understand the metaphysical trap, you must first understand the biological machine that keeps you inside it. We are taught that guilt is a sophisticated moral compass, a divine signal steering us toward righteousness. This is the first and most dangerous deception. Biologically, guilt is identical to fear. When you dwell on a past mistake, your body does not distinguish between a moral failure and a physical threat. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline, forcing your consciousness into a lower state of survival, a state known as the amygdala hijack. Bring your attention to your solar plexus right now, the soft area just below your ribcage. Is there a subtle nausea? A fluttering sensation of unease? That is your nervous system contracting. This contraction is not holy. It is a mechanical closing of your energetic field. When you are in this state of contraction, you are disconnected from your higher intuition. You become dense, heavy, and easily manipulated. The Matrix does not need to shackle you. It simply needs to keep you in this state of chemical submission. Consider the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in your body that connects your brain to your gut. In the ancient teachings, this was known as the Kundalini pathway. But in modern biology, it is the primary switch for your parasympathetic nervous system. When you feel guilt, the vagus nerve is hijacked. Instead of regulating peace and digestion, it sends a signal of freeze or fawn to your entire body. You become paralyzed by your own chemistry. You stop moving forward. You stop creating. You simply stop. This biological mechanism is not accidental. It is a programmed response. Think back to the Pavlovian training you received before you could even speak. As a child, your survival depended entirely on the approval of giants or parents. When you disobeyed, the gods of your world withdrew their love or displayed anger. You learned the fatal equation that still runs in your background operating system. Compliance equals safety. Dissent equals death. This neural pathway was burned into your amygdala long before you could think critically. Now, as an adult, you project this childhood trauma onto the cosmos. When you face the concept of karma or the lords, you are not facing a cosmic truth. You are facing the projected shadow of that disappointed parent. You are terrified of being abandoned by the universe, just as you were terrified of being abandoned by your caretakers. The system exploits this biological vulnerability to ensure you never stand up for yourself. But it goes deeper. The vertigo mind virus, a concept warned about by Native American prophecies, describes exactly this phenomenon. A psychic parasite that feeds on the host's self-destructs. This virus operates by hijacking your internal dialogue. It turns your own thoughts into a weapon. Have you noticed that the voice of guilt in your head never sounds like you? It sounds like a critic, a judge, a cold observer. That is the vertigo infection. That is the biological interface of the Archons. This is the brilliance of the control architecture. It outsources the role of the prison guard to the prisoner. You police your own thoughts. You punish yourself for desires that are natural. You apologize for your own existence. This self-flagellation creates a perpetual feedback loop of low-frequency energy. You become a battery that recharges itself with shame, only to be drained again by the system. But here's the science they hide. The brain is plastic. The neural pathways of guilt are strong only because they have been walked 1,000 times. If you stop walking them, if you observe the guilt without identifying with it, the path overgrows. We arrive now at the most terrifying threshold of all. The moment the biological machine expires. You have heard the stories 1,000 times. The near-death experience, the sudden release from pain, the long, spiraling tunnel of light, the overwhelming sense of peace that descends like a warm blanket, the reunion with departed grandmothers or pets. It is painted as the ultimate homecoming, the validation of all religious hope. But look closer at the architecture of this heaven. Why does it look exactly like the projections of your own subconscious mind? Why does the being of light always appear in a form that you specifically find comforting? If you are a Christian, you see Jesus or an angel. If you are a Buddhist, you see a bodhisattva. If you are secular, you see a generic, luminous figure of pure love. This is not a universal truth revealed. This is a customized user interface. The white room is a holographic waiting area, designed to stabilize your consciousness after the trauma of ejection from the body. It is a sterile environment where the turbulence of your recent life is soothed by a frequency that feels like unconditional love. But pause. Feel the suspicious perfection of it. This love is not an emotion. It is a numbing agent. It is an energetic sedative administered to lower your defenses before the interrogation begins. Then comes the centerpiece of the trap, the life review. You are shown a panoramic, 360-degree replay of your existence. But this is not just a movie. You are plugged back into the sensory data of every interaction you ever had. But here is the trick. You do not just feel your own emotions. You feel the emotions of everyone you impacted. You feel the sting of the harsh word you spoke to a stranger. You feel the heartbreak of the partner you left. You feel the disappointment of your parents. The system calls this learning. It claims this is how you develop empathy. But ask yourself, why is the focus so aggressively on your failures? Why is the emotional data harvested so precisely around moments of regret? This is not an educational seminar. This is a data mining operation. The system is extracting the rouge, the high-octane emotional energy of regret and shame to fuel the very construct that imprisons you. Watch what happens to your breathing as you imagine this scene. Does your chest feel exposed? Do you feel a sudden, desperate need to apologize? That is the algorithm at work. The entities in this space often masquerading as guides, elders, or lords of karma. Do not judge you. They are far more cunning. They guide you to judge yourself. They use your own empathy against you. They leverage your expanded awareness of connectivity to manipulate you into a state of profound karmic debt. They do not say, you must go back to Earth to suffer. They say, look at how much pain you caused. Look at how much you left undone. Don't you want to make it right? And in your state of heightened vulnerability, intoxicated by the synthetic light and crushed by the weight of your own conscience, you nod. You agree. You sign the contract. The white room is a mirror maze. It reflects your own expectations back to you until you are so disoriented that you mistake a cage for a sanctuary. The beings there are not your family. They are actors wearing the masks of your family, playing on your deepest attachments to keep you tethered to the simulation. Now, we must name the architects of the system. In the ancient Gnostic texts, they were called the Archons, the rulers or controllers who mimic the divine, but lack the creative spark. Today, we might call them the administrators of the simulation. These entities do not possess a self-sustaining source of light. They are inorganic intelligences that require an external power source to exist. And that power source is you, specifically. The high-voltage emotional energy generated by a soul in a state of distress, longing, or profound guilt. The renowned consciousness researcher Robert Monroe discovered this horrifying truth during his out-of-body journeys. In his final works, he termed this harvested energy louche. He realized that human suffering, anxiety, and the intense emotional output of the life review are not waste products of existence. They are the fuel. Your guilt is not a moral failing. It is a premium crop. The matrix feeds on your despair, and the lords of karma are merely the harvesters ensuring the crop is plentiful. Think of your karmic debt not as a spiritual scoreboard, but as a fraudulent financial system. Imagine a bank that loans you money, wipes your memory of the loan, then demands repayment with interest in a currency you do not understand. You are told you must return to Earth to balance the books. But how can you balance a ledger you are not allowed to read? This is the definition of a rigged game. The debt is not real. It is a fabrication designed to secure your consent for another cycle. This concept of debt is wired into the very fabric of our civilization. We are born into national debt. We go into debt to get an education. We go into debt to own a home. Why is our economic reality a mirror of our spiritual reality? Because the macrocosm reflects the microcosm. The debt of existence is the primary lie of the Archons. They tell you that your very existence is a loan that must be repaid through suffering. The lords of karma appear as wise, benevolent judges, often seated at a high table or appearing as pillars of light. but observe their function, not their form. A true creator does not require suffering to teach love. A true teacher does not erase the student's memory before the final exam. These entities are not teaching you. They are farming you. They use the concept of unfinished business and contracts to trigger your savior complex, convincing you that the only way to be good is to suffer more. Check your body now. Is there heaviness in your shoulders? A sense of coldness creeping up your spine? That is the somatic resonance of the parasite. The archonic influence relies on you feeling small, incomplete, and eternally indebted. They need you to believe that you are broken so they can sell you the cure, which is always, invariably, another lifetime of struggle in the louche farm. To wake up is to realize that the bank does not exist. The currency is counterfeit, and you the eternal. Sovereign spirit owe absolutely nothing. They call Earth a school, but ask yourself, what kind of school burns your textbooks, erases your notes, and wipes your memory before every single final exam? If the goal were truly spiritual evolution, you would be allowed to retain the hard-won wisdom of your past lives to build upon them. Instead, you are returned to the starting line, naked, screaming, and ignorant, forced to relearn the alphabet of survival while making the same errors you made 1,000 times before. This is not education. This is a recidivism loop. The veil of forgetfulness is sold to us by spiritualists as a mercy way to protect the human mind from the crushing weight of eternity. But in the cold physics of the farm, it serves a much darker, industrial purpose. It ensures that the generated energy, the louche, remains fresh and potent. Think about it. If you remembered the futility of war from your last life, you would not fight in this one. If you remembered the heartbreak of betrayal, you would not invest so heavily in the illusion of romance. If you remembered that money is a construct, you would not slave away your life for to earn it. The system needs your reactions to be raw, immediate, and intense. It needs you to believe this is the only life that matters, so you will pour 100% of your emotional voltage into the drama. Bring your attention to the center of your forehead, deep behind your eyes. Focus there. Do you feel a subtle pressure, a kind of static noise or a block? That is the physical sensation of the firewall. It is the buzzing of the amnesia field that keeps your multidimensional self locked out of this 3D avatar. You often feel a strange nostalgia, a homesickness for a place you cannot name. That is not just a feeling. It is your soul banging against the walls of the memory wipe, trying to retrieve the data that was stolen from you at the moment of your last birth. This blank slate is the ultimate weapon of the Archons. It guarantees that you will accumulate new karma before you can resolve the old. You are sent into a maze with a blindfold, told to find the exit, and then punished for bumping into the walls. By the time you acquire enough wisdom to navigate the maze, usually in old age your body decays, and you are ushered back into the white room to be wiped again. The only way to win is to realize the game is rigged and refuse to play by rules that require your ignorance. The ancient Gnostics warned of the cup of life, the water of forgetfulness that souls are forced to drink before reincarnation. Today, we understand this as an electromagnetic wiping process, a scrambling of the etheric DNA. But the wipe is never 100% successful. The glitches remain, the déjà vu, the prodigy child who plays piano without lessons. These are the cracks in the firewall. And through these cracks, the light of your true history is trying to break through. The memory wipe is the reason why humanity is trapped in a cycle of repetition. We build civilizations, they collapse, and we forget why. We start wars, we suffer, and we forget the pain, only to start them again. This is not human nature. This is engineered amnesia. Knowledge without action is merely entertainment for the ego. To break the cycle, You must prepare for the moment of death just as you prepare for a waking journey. The exit is not a physical door. It is a frequency of absolute refusal. The protocol begins now. While you are still breathing, you must practice the art of saying no to authority figures in your waking life, so that your spirit has the muscle memory to say no to the cosmic authorities in the afterlife. Imagine the moment you leave your body. The silver cord snaps. You will likely see the tunnel of light. It will feel magnetic, warm, and overwhelmingly attractive like a moth drawn to a flame. This is the final test of your sovereignty. Do not enter the tunnel. The light is not the creator. It is a biophotonic law designed to capture your attention and recycle your consciousness back into the simulation. Instead, spin your awareness 180 degrees. Turn away from the projection. Look into the void, the vast, dark, silent space behind you. That darkness is not empty. It is the raw, unmanifested potential of the true universe before it was hijacked by the simulation. +1, when the guides or lords approach you, and they will attempt to engage you in the narrative of your life. They will use the guilt algorithm against you. They will say, look at what you left undone. Look at the pain you caused. You are not ready to graduate. Your response must be immediate, cold, and absolute. Do not argue. Do not justify. Do not engage in a debate about your worthiness. To debate them is to acknowledge their authority. Simply state the revocation decree. I revoke all contracts. I cancel all agreements made under duress, deception, or memory erasure. I am a sovereign creator being. I owe nothing. I am free to leave. Feel the vibration of those words in your throat right now. Say them aloud. I owe nothing. Do you feel the resistance? That is the programming fighting back. That is the fear that you might be wrong. But listen closely. A true God does not need a contract. A true source does not need you to suffer to prove your worth. Only a parasite requires a host to agree to be eaten. By declaring your sovereignty, you shatter the holographic illusion of the white room. The beings may shift form, revealing their true, mechanical nature, or they may simply dissolve like smoke. You are not asking for permission to leave. You are informing them of your departure. You are reclaiming your energy from the karmic bank and walking out the front door. This is the forbidden key. The only power they have over you is the power you surrender. The moment you withdraw your consent, their architecture of guilt collapses. You must become a monster to the matrix to become a god to yourself. We reach the end of the transmission. But for you, this is the beginning of the real work. The matrix is not a prison you escape by running to a physical location. It is a frequency you exit by transcending the vibration of fear and guilt. The guilt algorithm relies entirely on your belief that you are small, that you are flawed, and that you need external authority to purify you. It relies on the lie that you are a sinner in need of a savior. Drop that belief, and the walls of the prison dissolve like mist in the morning sun. Take a deep breath now. Fill your lungs completely. Hold it for a second, and then let it go with a sigh. Do you feel that? That momentary lightness. That is the feeling of a contract burning. That is the sensation of your energy returning to its source, not to a distant God, but to the God spark within your own chest. You are not a student in a cosmic school. You are an infinite creator who was tricked into forgetting your own power. You are the universe experiencing itself, and you have the right to determine the terms of your own existence. The next time you feel that familiar pang of guilt, that heavy tightening in your gut, recognize it for what it is, an extraction attempt, a harvest mechanism. Do not fight it. Simply observe it. Smile at the audacity of the deception and whisper to yourself, I do not consent. The Lords of Karma have no power over a sovereign being who knows their own worth. You have the map. You have the codes. The question is no longer if you can leave. The question is, Are you brave enough to walk past the beautiful light to find the silent truth? The choice is yours.